Welcome to AP Workshops, welcome to another one of our tech videos. So today we're going to rerun our Get Your Bike Started. Now today is the first day of February 2025 when we're actually doing this. So this is the first day in February that we've actually been back in the building. We've had numerous phone calls this morning from people struggling to get their bike started. They've been away for the winter, they've been tucked up away from the summer, sort of in their beds, blankets over us, on paddock stands, etc, etc. So absolutely fantastic, but they're struggling to get their bike started. We did a video not so long ago on this bike. This was probably about a year ago we did the video, but this is a 2000 that we found that had been standing around for about 12 years, so it really did need a little bit of waking up, but it's basically non-start. It wouldn't start, so what we did was followed me around and I showed you what I did to get your bike started. So with that in mind, if you're struggling to get your bike started after it's been stood up for a little while, watch this video, see how you get on. Welcome back to AP Workshops. Welcome back to another one of our tech videos. So what we're going to do is basically I'm going to show you what we do when we try to diagnose a non-start on a bike. So this is Amber's bike. This one's been standing around for about 10 years. So basically this one is a non-starter at this particular point in time. If we turn it on and we try turning it over, it doesn't start. So we turn the ignition on. So nothing, we've got nothing on the dashboard, we've got no fault codes on the dashboard, we've got nothing. So basically we've got nothing, it's a non-start. This is, I'm going to try and simplify this as much as possible. So if I kind of stumble a little bit, bear with me on this one, because normally this is a little bit of an operation that goes on in my head. When you're sort of sat on a bench and working on a bike in front of you, but I'm going to try and simplify this as much as possible, and what I'm going to try and do is try and sort of relay that to you. So bear with me a moment on this one, and bear with me for a second. But effectively what we're trying to do is, this is the situation. Imagine you're been away for winter, the bike's been sat there, no problems. You've put the bike back onto the, put the battery back onto the bike, and effectively you've got this situation where you turn the key on, non-start. The situation is, we see this an awful lot on the phone. People are ringing up asking for a little bit of help. That's not a problem, but you're ringing up asking for a little bit of help, and you don't know what to do. So what I'm going to do is ask you to come and watch this video, see what we do, see how it is, to see if we can help you in this one and in this way. So this is the situation. Your bike needs 4 things to make it run. If you ring us up with the answer to these 4 questions, then we can go further.
Can I phone a friend?
You can phone a friend.
Effectively, what we need to do is to look for spark. We need to test to see whether the fuel pump works when you turn the ignition on, to see whether the fuel pump works when you try cranking the bike, okay, and we need to make sure you've got fuel injection. So this video is to help you start on your diagnostic routine. So say for example, these are the 4 parts that you need. We need spark, fuel pump on cranking, and we need fuel injection. This is how you test for all of these parts. If you get stuck and you've got the answer to these 4 questions, if we haven't got a spark, we know we're looking for a spark problem. If we haven't got fuel pump running, we know we've got a spark, we've got to start looking for a fuel pump problem. And then basically, if we haven't got fuel injection, we know we're looking for a fuel injection issue. This is how you test all 4 of these parts. Okay, so the first thing we're going to check is that we've got fuel injection. So what we'll check in, we're going to use what's known as an LED tester. So effectively, this is a voltage tester that uses LEDs to tell you whether we've got 12 volts or not, okay? Bulb testers will work, but they're not as accurate, or in this particular instance, as an LED tester. You can buy these from places like Halfords or sort of Pet Boys, depending on where you are in the UK, or whether you're in the States, or whether, but kind of your local motor factors or spare parts and accessories places. So literally all it is a 12 volt tester. So what we're looking for is a 12 volt switch signal to the fuel injector. The fuel injector is on the side of the throttle bodies. So if we disconnect this block connector, in order for us to be able to test this block connector, we're going to bridge out this. So I've just put a little bit of lock wire into this. I've just slid that in like that. Then I've got the other side, so I'm making a bridge across the actual block connector like this. Then I'm going to turn the ignition on, and then I'm going to crank. And what I'm expecting to see is the ECU switching the fuel injector, so we know that the fuel injector is working. So one of these lights, when we crank, we'll switch it on, and what will happen is it should flash. If it doesn't flash, we've got a problem. If it does flash, we know we're getting fuel injection. So let's crank it and see what we got. So we have got that flash signal. If you can see here, we've got that little flash signal. There you go. So we know we've got fuel injection. So that's one test done. On to the spark test next. Okay, so the next test, we're going to test to see whether the engine is getting a spark. So we've tested for fuel injection. We're going to now test for a spark. So the way to test for a spark can be a little bit interesting. So you have got to use a little bit of caution. But these are the spark plugs here, spark plug caps. We're going to remove one of the spark plug caps. We're going to fit a spare spark plug. Okay, so we're going to fit a spare spark plug, and then what we're going to do is rest the spark plug against the engine block. Okay, now if you touch this, when you push that button, you will get a shock and you will know about it. So be careful. So if you can, rest the spark plug against the block, hold on to the cap so you're not going to get it. Then what we'll do is I'm going to go and press the button and see if we've got a spark. Yep, that's a good spark, no problems. So we know we've got fuel injection, we know we've got a spark, no problems. I'll refit the spark plug cap, move on. Okay, so the next part that we're going to be looking for is we're going to be looking to make sure we've got the fuel pump works when we turn the ignition on, and the fuel pump works when we stab the start switch, no problems. So turn the ignition on, can we hear a fuel pump? No, we can't. Stab the start switch, can we hear it? No, we can't hear it. So here we have a problem. This is one thing that we're missing. So we've got four things that we've got to try and find. We've got to try and find fuel injection. We've got to find a spark. Does the fuel pump work when we turn the ignition on? No. Does it work when we stab it? No. So we have a fuel pump problem, something along the lines. It might not necessarily be the fuel pump that's a problem, but basically what we need to do is to find out why that fuel pump's not working. Okay, so we found out that the fuel pump isn't working. So on a Gen 1 bike, underneath the right hand side, if you have a quick look on your workshop manual, it will show you where the block connector is for your fuel pump. If you have a look on a Gen 2, it's just underneath the battery around here. If you look on a V4, it's just underneath the tank setup around here, so you can check what's going on with that one. So on a Gen 1, we know what the problem is. In fact, I can see what the problem is here, so we know exactly what's going on with it here. But basically, this is where the block connector is. This is where you would do some testing just to make sure. But we'll, if you come down, we'll have a bit of a close-up on this. We can see exactly what the problem is here. Okay. So we've got no fuel pump operation when we turn the ignition on, and we've got no fuel pump when we actually stab the start switch. So we're coming to the block connector, and I think we've actually found the problem here. So when it's actually been put on, or when the tank's been put on in the past, the actual block connector isn't together. So if you have a quick look, it's just come apart. It's just come apart in my hands. On these Gen 1s, it is quite common for them to actually burn or scar these wires here. If you have a quick look on the inside, you'll see this one's actually clean as a whistle. So this one's just not been put back on properly at some point. So if we put this back together again like that, if you're about to feel it click in, like that, that I'm pretty sure is going to be our problem. So I'll turn the ignition on.
All right, fingers crossed.
Okay, so we're just going to turn the ignition on. And yes, we've got a fuel pump on. If that's picking up on microphone, but we've now got a fuel pump operation, so we can hear that when it turns on. And then we'll just try stabbing the start switch as well, just so we know. So literally, all we're looking for is just a little poke like that, just to make sure. Because all we're trying to do is just see if we can hear the fuel pump working while the engine turns over. So, yeah. Hopefully you can hear that, so we can hear what's going on. Yep, perfect. So in this instance, we'll just give that a try and see if we can get that to start. Okay, no problem. So we're going to try, give this a try now, because now we know we've got fuel injection. We know it's working because we've tested with the LED. We've got a spark, so we know we've tested with the spark plug on the side of the crankcase, so we know what's going on, and we didn't get a zap off it. We now know that the actual fuel pump works when we turn the tank, or when we turn the ignition on, because we can hear it whirring. And when you stab the starter switch, we know that that's now buzzing. So in theory, we should be able to start this up and it should go. There we go. Happy days. So that's it. So we know exactly what was going on with that one. Literally, we just had a problem with the block connector here. So in just to recap, so we know exactly what's going on. I'm going to try and keep this as simple as possible. Your bike's been sat over Christmas, problem, come back to it, say for example, or it's been sat for a little while for whatever reason, and it's not working when you come back to it. It's just cranking and not catching. There's 4 things that you need to try and look for. 1, has it got a spark? 2, is it fuel injecting? 3, is the fuel pump working when you turn the ignition on? The fuel pump cranks, or basically primes the system to put pressure in the fuel injection system for 3 to 5 seconds, dependent on the map that's installed. And 4, does it work when you actually just stab the start switch? So in other words, does it work when the engine's turning over? It's easier just to literally stab the button so you can see what's going on. If you have all 4 of those, that engine, in theory, should run. And then you can, if not, you know exactly where you start looking. Like I said, if you haven't got a fuel injection, you know where to start. Right, I haven't got any fuel injection, where do I start from there? Then you're looking for no spark. If I haven't got any spark, then I know I've not got a spark, so we know that that's a problem. So the logic is basically starting to work between us. If we're missing something, then we know where to start looking for that kind of thing. So what we're looking for, when we ring up, I'm going to ask you, have you got spark? Have you got fuel injection? Have you got the have you got the fuel pump working when you turn the ignition on? And have you got the fuel pump working when you stab the start switch? If you've got all 4 of those, your bike will run. Okay, that's it. It's just a little quick tester just to sort of help you get sort of a little bit of diagnosis when you start working on your bike. If you've got any suggestions for any films that we need to be able to do in the future just to help you out, please just give us a quick shout, sales@apworkshops.co.uk. If there's anything else that we can help you out with, please just email us. Again, sales@apworkshops.co.uk. Give us a call at the shop, no dramas whatsoever. We can help you out with that. Just want to say a massive thank you to our sponsors. That's ARAI helmets, RST clothing, Motul oils, and GB Racing. You guys rock. Thanks very, very much. A massive thank you to all the people that are going online, www.apworkshops.co.uk, to our sales or the e-commerce web platform. If there's something on there that you can't find that you're looking for, spares and accessories to your bike, honestly, just give us a quick shout, no problems. We're happy to help you. Once again, thanks very much for everything that you do for us. We really, really appreciate it. Take care of yourself. Thanks very much.